Keep rocking and rolling. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, December 22nd, 2023. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We have got a phenomenal show for you guys today. We're going to be talking a lot about the idea of new media and what new media is doing to fix this country moving into 2024, as we have basically 1 week left until the presidential cycle truly begins. Also, we're going to be talking about illegal immigrants getting flown all over the damn country. Donald Trump may be removed off the ballot in 16 total states as Republicans gear up to remove Biden from several states, as we have talked about. Also, later in the show, we're going to be joined by my good friend Tiffany Savage, the Real Politically Savvy, on Twitter. We're going to be talking a lot about what's going on down in Georgia right now with Kemp and Raffensperger. Also, we're going to be talking about the importance of things like Twitter Spaces and why I think every person should get involved in that. I've been studying technology when it comes to politics for quite some time. We're going to talk about the sort of thing President Obama was able to do with Facebook when it was in its infancy and why he was so successful moving into the 2008 race, and how I think that Donald Trump moving into the 2024 race will be controlled by new media. New media like this one, new media like Twitter. While it's not new, it is certainly new, and it is certainly new in its newfound application. So we're going to dive into all that. Stay tuned for Tiffany Savage at the end of the show. Super excited to have her on, guys. Hit the thumbs up button. Share this video out all over the place. Let's keep rocking and rolling. I hope everyone is geared up for Christmas. I hope you have started your Christmas shopping, unlike me. You know, guys, let me ask you. There's two kinds of people. There are people that Christmas shop like the last possible minute, and then there are people that do it throughout like the weeks and months leading up to Christmas. Which one are you guys? Are you the wait till the last minute and stress about it the entire time like me, or do you try to get it done early? Let's pop this Rumble chat on the screen. I'm curious what you guys do here, because I know I'm probably doing it wrong. I know that I'm probably doing it wrong. So let's see. What does the chat do? What do you guys usually do? Do you get it done ahead of time, or do you do it last minute? All right, we got one last minute. We got one person last minute. Let's see. I'm curious to see how wrong I am on this one. All right, we got more last minute people. Good. I'll see you all at the mall later today. I don't know. Do malls still exist? I'll see you guys at the mall when we do our Christmas shopping. Oh, good. It's good to know that everyone in conservative media. It's good to know that everyone in the conservative bubble waits till the last minute. So it's good to know I'm not alone here. Let's get rocking and rolling here. Thumbs up on the screen, everybody. It really helps the show. Maybe we'll get to 500 today. Who knows? So I've got this from the National Pulse. 16 states have Colorado-style lawfare campaigns to remove Trump from the ballot. Obviously, Colorado, where the state Supreme Court has narrowly decided to remove Donald Trump from the GOP ballot, is not alone in their efforts to stop the American people from deciding whether or not to reelect the president. Other states include Michigan, Oregon, New Jersey, and Wisconsin are dealing with 14th Amendment cases in their courts at the moment, as well as Arizona, Alaska, Nevada, New York, New Mexico, South Carolina, Texas, Vermont, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming all have lawsuits pending in their federal courts. So we will wait and see on all of those. However, as we've talked about numerous times, if the Supreme Court takes the case, moves the case forward, overturns the Colorado case, that would then make these remaining 16 states cases null and void. The cases against the former president have already been dismissed in Arizona and Michigan, but are being appealed. In a case in Maine, will be heard by the Secretary of State in the coming days due to quirks in their state law. The California Lieutenant Governor has instructed the Secretary of State to explore every legal option to stop Trump from appearing on the presidential primary ballot. The Colorado ruling was controversial, even among the exclusively Democrat-appointed justices. Chief Justice Brian Boatwright, Justice Maria Birkenkotter, and Justice Carlos Simor all voted against Trump's removal, with Justice Simor warning the former president had been denied a fair trial and due process. So, we talked about it the other day. The one big through line in the Colorado case was that all of the justices who went to Ivy League schools voted to remove Trump from the ballot, while all the ones who went to public school voted to keep him on the ballot. I don't know if there's ever been a more down-the-line distinction between the people who consider themselves the special people and regular people who go to public school than that. Obviously, we've seen in the last couple of weeks the proof that there is no longer anything impressive about going to the Ivy Leagues. Nothing impressive whatsoever. And I think that ruling really reveals it. Of course, as I said the other day, Democrats don't seem to realize that once you open up a can of worms like this, there is no going back. We've brought it up multiple times on the show because it is the most perfect example of it. Harry Reid, when he was the Senate Minority Leader out of the state of Nevada, changed the rules in the Senate to remove the judicial filibuster, which meant that you only needed 50 votes to confirm a judge rather than the traditional 60 votes. What did that do? Mitch McConnell, for all of his nonsense, said on the floor of the Senate that if you do this, you will regret it. Sure enough, once Mitch McConnell had power, he rammed through the 3 Supreme Court justices that are probably going to be the ones deciding whether or not Donald Trump remains on the ballot. So once again, Democrats find themselves in a place that they have now started something that they can't finish. We've got this from Breitbart News. Exclusive. Republicans are now drafting bills to remove Joe Biden from ballots in Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania in response to the Colorado ballot removal. You guys want to look? Play stupid games, guys. Win stupid prizes. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. If Biden is removed from these ballots, the president will have a difficult time winning the Democratic primary and presidential election. Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania are vital key swing states. The three state reps who are drafting these 3 bills are Aaron Bernstein of Pennsylvania, Charlize Byrd of Georgia, and Cory McGarr of Arizona. The state representatives aim to fight back against the Democrats' so-called lawfare used to attack the former president Donald Trump. Colorado Supreme Court, insurrection clause, we know all that. Quote, we are joining forces to introduce legislation to remove Joe Biden from the ballot in Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, the lawmakers told Breitbart News. The absurdity of radical Democrat judges removing Donald Trump from the ballot in Colorado will be a stain on the American political system for decades. By their very interpretation of the law, Joe Biden is 100% not eligible to run for political office. Democrats' insane justification to remove Trump can just as easily be applied to Joe Biden for his insurrection at the southern border and his alleged corrupt family business dealings with China. Colorado radicals have changed the game, and we are not going to sit quietly while they destroy our republic. To be clear, our objective is to showcase the absurdity of Colorado's decision and allow all candidates to be on the ballots in these states, they wrote. To do that, we must fight back as Republicans against the communists currently running the greatest country in the world. Republicans were immediately incensed by the Colorado Supreme Court decision. Many floated the idea of blocking Biden from various states. Even Texas representatives threatened to take action as well. So that would then be 4 states that Joe Biden would be removed from. You guys want to play this game? We can play it too. The only difference is we'll play it better. Democrats, we don't believe in changing the rules here as Republicans, as conservatives, as America First populists. However, when Democrats, when the radical left changes the rules, it is up to us to beat them at their own game. And yes, I'm talking about ballot harvesting. I'm talking about early voting. I'm talking about implementing the same kinds of lawfare that they're using against us. We're seeing them use the nonprofit process, the nonprofit organization process throughout the country to smear and libel and defame conservatives. And it's good to see that some attorneys general, like the one in Missouri, is beginning to fight back. This is how we win. For too long, Republicans have been bringing knives to gunfights, and I have long said that I am sick and tired of having moral losses. It is time for us to start fighting back, and it's good to see some of these states are doing it as well. It's good to see some of them are doing it as well. So that is great news on the home front. And like I said, I want to be clear. I don't want Joe Biden to be removed from the ballot because I know we're going to kick his ass one way or the other. However, Democrats want to do this. We can do it too. We're going to move on real quick, guys. Once again, stay tuned for my interview with the real politically savvy Tiffany Savage later in the show. We're going to be talking a lot about new media here in just a bit. Before we get to that, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Let's keep on rocking and rolling here the last day before Christmas here on LFA TV. Guys, do me a favor. Head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. For all your LFA TV merch, guys, that's the best way for us to be able to pick you guys out at all these presidential rallies, which we're going to be rocking and rolling at all throughout the 2024 cycle. So I can't wait to meet you guys. Get your LFA TV merch today. And while you're there, consider becoming a monthly donor to LFA TV. Just head on over to lfatv.us. It's lfatv.us. In a story that's been blowing up all over the place, I want to talk about a good friend of the show, Ashley Sinclair and James O'Keefe, have been doing phenomenal work revealing the fact that illegal immigrants are being flown on commercial airlines and are not subject to security screenings like all the other passengers. Now, we've known for quite some time that you and I have to follow different rules than illegal immigrants. We've known that forever. However, with the amount of people that we're seeing on terrorist watch lists from places like Iran and Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, Yemen, real lovely countries. Personally, I know how much I love to go to Beirut during stoning season. They're being allowed on the plane without even having to go through security checks. However, they will make you throw out your deodorant or your hairspray if it's over the legal limit. I can't bring a bottle of water on the plane. I can't have a glass of scotch on the plane anymore. But illegal immigrants can bring on anything they want. In fact, Ashley Sinclair and James O'Keefe held a public Twitter space, once again, Twitter Spaces, new technology, on Wednesday night, during which the airline industry insiders and pilots shared their concerns and information about what's going on with illegal immigrants and air travel. Illegal immigrants apprehended by border agents are being transported via commercial airliners, and they are not subject to the same vetting practices as other passengers. The quote-unquote ghost flights of unaccompanied minors facilitated by the Biden administration has been an open secret since early in Joe Biden's presidency. But as the problem of illegal immigration continues to mount, the attempts to keep it under wraps are showing the cracks. Ashley Sinclair and James O'Keefe held a public Twitter space on Wednesday night, during which the airline industry, the space came after Sinclair noticed a large number of illegal immigrants on her flight when traveling from Phoenix to New York City. Sinclair noticed the illegal immigrants carrying nothing but bags provided for them by the processing centers, which included free cell phones courtesy of the Biden administration. She brought up her concerns to Delta during her travels, only to be followed by a Delta ticket agent in what was an attempt to intimidate her. And anybody who knows Ashley Sinclair knows that she ain't going to take that shit. The illegal immigration comes the illegal immigrants come on board with nothing but what they've been given by the border agents. Sinclair also found out that many of them have no identification whatsoever and that they are being allowed to board planes and travel domestically into the United States. This is not possible for regular passengers. Ashley Sinclair claims, and I believe her, that she is in possession of legitimate major airline boarding passes for migrants that quite literally have the name printed on it as no name given. The pilots revealed that these illegal immigrants are not subject to the same security screenings as commercial passengers. They do not undergo health screenings, and many of them are unaccompanied minors. The tickets are paid for by the government, but they are, quote, not vetted, and the pilots have no idea who they are. Delta, American, United, Southwest are all airlines that have been named as those transporting Biden's illegal immigrants without properly vetting these individuals. One pilot spoke under a pseudonym and did not disclose the carrier he flies for, saying, quote, one of the most concerning things that's really come out of this moment of unaccompanied minors are being flown around the country with what seems to be little oversight. He said this has been going on for the past year, and it certainly has increased in intensity. Now, I want to make it very clear. We know that they've been doing this for quite some time. The problem I'm having, in addition to the terrorist watch list, is has anyone noticed how much more expensive your flights have been over the last several months, over the last year, over the last year and a half? Do you remember the troubles everybody had over the course of the last year with, catching their flights being canceled, flights being delayed, not enough pilots, not enough stewardesses or flight attendants, whatever the hell we're calling it now? Remember when all that was happening? Are you, as an American citizen, as somebody who wants to travel to see their family, as a law-abiding citizen, are you being denied access to flights because we're too busy flying illegal immigrants all over the damn country? There's only a limited number of seats on a plane, only a limited number of planes for flights, only a limited number of flights that can go out a day. Supply and demand, the basic law of economics, would suggest that the reason why your prices are going up and your flights are being canceled and you can't get to where you want to go is because we are too busy flying basically the entire criminal population of El Salvador all over this country. And what's even better is you're paying for it. What's even better is you're paying for it. We're going to get to more of this article in a second. But before we get to that, guys, a quick word from Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest Christmas sale ever. You get our brand new 6-piece My Towels for only $29.98. Or rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper as low as $99.99. Or how about MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $24.98? There's something for everyone. Duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more. Well, I know MyPillow products make for the perfect Christmas gifts, so I'm going to extend my money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2024. So go to MyPillow.com now or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you get our 6-piece towels for only $29.98. Or get your very own MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $24.98. It's our biggest Christmas sale ever. Get all your shopping done now while quantities last.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Get your Giza Dream Sheets, your MyPillow slippers. I'm wearing them right now. They're absolutely great. Guys, your MyPillow dog beds. I mean, I haven't shown you guys the big guy in a while, but the only thing that keeps this crazy-ass dog calm is his MyPillow dog bed. So go to MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. Now, why is this so important? As recently as a few days ago, I'm sorry, let me start that over. 11,000 people had tuned into that Twitter space. 11,000 people listened to these airline pilots come on, these flight attendants, booking agents, whatever they may have been. I think many of them were pilots. 11,000 people listened in live. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because I want to talk to you guys about the concept of new media and how the person, and this has gone on throughout history. The person who takes advantage of new technology in any capacity in life is always at a greater advantage than the person who doesn't. With Elon Musk buying Twitter, for those of you who don't know, you may not be on Twitter, and that's okay. A lot of organizing has been done in the realm of Twitter Spaces. A lot of people have been able to reach and hear new media figures arise on Twitter. So, look, and Elon's not perfect. Let's be clear. There are some people that are still banned that shouldn't be. We can complain about it all day long. Or what we can do is we can take advantage of the platforms that we currently have access to, as we're doing here on Rumble. We ask you guys to share this video out because you're not going to see this sort of content anywhere else. In a little bit, we're going to play videos from last night's Timcast IRL. For those of you who don't know who Tim Pool is, last week we had on one of the writers for his website, Hannah Claire Brimlow. Last night they had on Marianne Williamson, who is the standard bearer. She is the progressive pick for president on the Democratic ticket. Right now, she's polling somewhere in the teens in the Democratic race. I want to be clear. She's not going to win the presidency. If Joe Biden wasn't running, she's still not going to win the presidency. However, she is the consensus pick for many of the most radical left-wing Democrats, the climate crazies, the BLM people. She is that climate. She is their standard bearer. And last night, she went on Tim Pool's show for 2 hours. And look, I'm a big fan of long-form podcasts, whether it's Tim Pool or Patrick Bet-David or Joe Rogan. I like long-form shows. Why? Because in a 3-minute interview on Fox or Newsmax or CNN, whatever, you never get to really dive into what people actually think and what they actually believe. And if you watched Timcast last night, you got to see a woman who is the standard bearer for the progressive movement, who, quite frankly, had no idea what was going on in the world. No idea what was going on in the world. Jeremy Harrell played a clip of her being stumped on the concept of Derek Chauvin not getting a fair trial in Minneapolis. We know that. Here's a clip of Tim Pool grilling her on the January 6th defendants. And look, you can see when she says these things. I don't think this is a show. I don't think this is a performance. I genuinely think that Marianne Williamson, the progressive, has never heard this argument before. Here's Tim Pool.
And McIntyre was the chair of the Proud Boys.
So the jury said, based on things that he had done with groups of people, that he had done on Facebook, etc., a jury decided his culpability.
Do you think that a D.C. jury was a jury of his peers?
Well, I think that's, if he had wanted to argue that he could not get a fair trial in Washington, then the legal system is such that he could have made that argument.
He did. They said no.
And they said no. This is interesting.
There's going to be a civil war in this country.
You're saying there's going to be?
I think it is an absolute fact. And I'll tell you.
So you think that the law is being weaponized against everybody having anything to do with January 6th?
20 years? So first, did you know that there are people who are acquitted on January 6th because they showed up, open sidewalks, no gates, police fanned them in and opened the doors. And then when they went to court, they said, Your Honor, here's a video of the cop welcoming me in. The cop said, you're right, case dismissed. Did you know that?
And it should be dismissed in that case.
Did you know that's hundreds of them?
If that is all that someone did, then they should be acquitted.
And there are people who are going to, people I've met who are going to jail for 18 months because an hour after the riot, on the other side of the building, Trump was speaking. He finishes speaking. The riot is already happening. After the riot was cleared out, there were many people who showed up, no barricades, no signs, and the police opened the doors. There's one family that I met. They were not party to any violence. They walked up the sidewalk with little American flags. They were cops holding the door open. They waved, walked in, looked around. They said they were there for about 3 minutes, shrugged and said, oh, that was cool. And then a few months later, the FBI came to their house in the middle of the night or in the early hours of the morning, arrested them in front of their children, brought them to trial. And when they argued, We were there an hour after all this. There were no signs. There was no barricades. The police let us in. They said, we don't care. Guilty, 18 months.
Well, that sounds wrong to me.
And that's a lot of these people.
Well, that is like hard to believe.
It's true.
Well, and I'm not saying that the legal system never makes mistakes either. But was that a case that was tried by a jury?
Yes.
So what did the jury say? What was the prosecution's argument?
Trump supporters are insurrectionists. You go to jail.
I don't know. I'd have to read about this, Tim. I mean,
I agree. I think you should. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say you're not saying the truth, but I'm saying some of these conversations I would have to read.
I completely understand.
I mean this. I don't think Marianne Williamson has ever heard that argument before. Now, this is a show, Tim Pool's, that's been around for a while. However, over the course of the Biden administration, over the course of the last couple of years, it's gotten a lot of play. It's grown in huge ways. Another name. We're going to play another clip of Tim Pool in a minute talking about the books in school. And you can see, once again, Marianne Williamson has absolutely no idea that this is happening. And when she's actually confronted with it, you find out that even the crazy progressives, once they find out about the actual book banning going on in Florida that isn't happening, she has no idea about why the books are being banned, what books are being banned, what stuff is actually happening. And when you expose, because look, I want to be clear. If you're watching the Young Turks every day, if you're watching MSNBC or ABC News or any of the mainstream media outlets, if you're some normie out there who's just turning on CNN, these people don't know that this stuff is happening. That's why when you say it to them, they look at you like you're insane. Here's Tim Pool discussing with Marianne Williamson about the sexualization of children in school.
One thing I did want to ask you about.
And before we get to that, look, I genuinely mean this. Look at Marianne Williamson's face when he's showing her the books that are being given to kids in school. She literally looks like she has no idea what he's talking about. Like this is the first time she's ever heard it.
One thing I did want to ask you about was your position on one of the big culture war issues in this country is in Florida, they announced that they would be barring certain books from curriculum that contained adult materials. This resulted in big headlines like this about, this is not the one. Orlando newspaper publishes spread of 673 books banned in Florida County in 2023. I was curious if you knew a lot about what was going on nationwide with the removal of certain books from school curriculum and what your thoughts were.
I'm very much against book banning. I think book banning is basically fascist behavior. Some of the books that are being banned, there'll be a suggestion of homosexual feelings, so they call it so they call it pornographic and something children shouldn't read. I trust teachers and librarians, and I don't like the idea of the U.S. government or a state government telling librarians or teachers what they can teach.
You don't think we should have laws on any, like what about a Playboy? Like if a Playboy was in a grade school, would that be an issue?
A Playboy magazine?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a parent, I'd have a big problem with a Playboy magazine.
What if there was a book being given to middle schoolers that depicted giving blowjobs?
I would. Yeah. Well, okay. Once again, I wouldn't want my child to read that, and I definitely would be wanting to work on.
This is the book.
Okay, that's school board. That's not government, not the U.S. government, or I don't want the U.S. government and I don't want the state governor telling me the books cannot be taught. If I were a parent, and I am a parent, if my child in the 8th grade, I would definitely be going to the school. I would definitely be working with the school board, and I definitely would have a problem with that.
What if the school board, if it doesn't do anything about it, then do you have to appeal to the state?
I don't want this. I don't want a governor telling colleges what classes they can teach.
This isn't colleges. This is
and even the 8th grade
school.
Yeah, no, I don't think the governor should be telling schools what they can teach in the 8th grade. I would have a problem with that, but that's school board. And then you elect people to your school board.
If you had a child between the ages of 10 and 12, and the teacher was providing them instruction on how to use anonymous gay sex apps, would you call the police on that teacher?
I would definitely go to the principal right away. Police, I have a problem with bringing the police into that. But going to the principal, you better believe I would. And I would show up at the school board as well.
Now, why do I show you all these long clips? Because I think it's important. I think it's important to sort of diversify the sort of stuff that you guys watch. I think it's important to watch everything. I say it all the time. I only watch left-wing stuff because I want to see what they're talking about. But let's just look at the four people that were in that room. You had the most popular progressive running for president who had no idea what was going on, but the other three guys. One of them's a skateboarder, one of them's a hippie, and the other one is the lead singer of a heavy metal band, who all are on the side of we need to stop this shit in schools. But only one of them is not exposed to the sort of stuff that we talk about all the time. Marianne Williamson. That's why she seems to think that they're banning books like To Kill a Mockingbird, which they're not banning. They're banning the sexualized books. She seemed completely dumbfounded by this. And the more we can break into that world, the better it will be. Moreover, what is happening? I talk about new shows like Tim Pool's, LFA TV, Patrick Bet-David, one of the biggest podcasts in the world, now breaking new ground with new voters. There's a reason why young voters are swinging the way of the Republican Party in ways that they've never done before. And that's because we are controlling the new media ecosphere. We are controlling the Twitter spaces. We're controlling places like Rumble in the podcast realm. And there are a lot of people that came along before. Adam Carolla, the father of the podcast, is not a tried and true conservative. He's a Hollywood guy. His best friend's Jimmy Kimmel. However, once the new medium took place, we were able to take advantage of it. And what do the establishment people end up doing once they realize that they've lost a narrative? They put out crap like this. The Never Back Down pack smears Jack Posobiec and Tim Pool backfires. A new poll finds that they reach 100 million Americans. Pool and Posobiec also pointed out that it is a bit odd to run a story and a poll about two guys no one has reportedly heard of. So the Never Back Down pack put out a poll that takes aim at people like Jack Posobiec and Tim Pool, claiming they have limited influence in the Republican primary. But the data obtained contradicts that intent. Mediaite reports, quote, Posobiec is unknown to 72% of Americans and even less popular with Republicans. 75% don't know who he is. The same is true of Pool. 69% of Americans and 74% of Republicans have never heard of them. Yet, the poll seems to show that 94 million Americans, 28% of the entire population, are familiar with Jack, and 104 million people are familiar with Tim Pool. The more those shows, the more those sorts of reporters grow, the better off we will be. The more types of shows like this one grow, the more you guys share this out and show that there are more of us. I say it all the time. When Donald Trump wins in 2024, the number one reason for that is going to be the birth of the new media world. The birth of new shows and new entities and things that are out there. Great ways that we're taking advantage of the internet. People like Brandon Dilley and the Dilley meme team doing great job putting out what used to be called political cartoons, now putting out memes. We must take advantage of every single one of the pieces of infrastructure in the technology sphere, because that's how we win 2024. Guys, we will be right back with my friend Tiffany Savage. We're going to talk more about what she's been doing on places like Twitter Spaces and a lot of the stuff going on down in Georgia. We'll be back in 1 minute. Stay tuned. Alrighty, guys, we are back. I'm so happy to be joined by my next guest. She's a political activist down in the great state of Georgia, doing phenomenal work in that ever-important swing state. Everyone, please say hello to my friend, the real politically savvy on Twitter, Tiffany Savage. Tiffany, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. You're all over the place. We actually got to meet at the Erie, Pennsylvania rally, which was wild, which was absolutely wild to see. And we're seeing President Trump getting the crowd's back into it now that we're officially back into election season, or maybe I would say after the new year it would be officially political season. But now after what went on in Colorado the other day, I think that timeline sped up a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What Colorado is trying to do, and now as of today too, California is trying to get on that same bandwagon. It's unconstitutional. This more than likely won't be the last time we're going to see in a blue state, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it won't stand.
Mhm.
And so you've seen the Colorado GOP come out and say, all right, well, we'll take it to the caucuses, which I think was a great and ballsy move. But if people read a little bit further into it, into the actual, case or whatever you want to call it, right? So basically they've said that there will be a stay, which really means that President Trump will remain on the ballot. Which is very important because a lot of us, met over Twitter. So we see all of this happening, but people out in our communities won't necessarily know this. And that's why it's so important for people like myself and you and just so many others to get involved, get out in your community and have these conversations to let people know what's really happening.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into the Twitter stuff in a little bit because I know you host a lot of Twitter spaces, and I think I think it's an untapped resource, but we'll get into that in just a bit. Obviously, Georgia, where you are, is that's pretty much ground zero for the 2024 election. So what are you seeing on the ground that is either the same or different in the state of Georgia? Because, for a long time, Georgia was a true red state. They didn't pay it any mind. Newt Gingrich is from Georgia. He was a mainstay in the Republican Party for a long time. And now with the Senate races and with the dislike of Brian Kemp, it's sort of, I don't know, it's seen as a purple state. So what's been going on down there?
Oh my goodness. Well, we still have cases that are ongoing from 2020 and the election interference, one of which is really, really big that I'll be attending January 9th with Brad Raffensperger, called to the stand because he lied. And it was, even now, Governor Kemp has called him out on it as well, that he lied about the election results. So all of this is coming out. People are still boots on the ground. You've had Catherine with True the Vote down here with her cases. You have Garland Favrita with Voter GA and their cases. And then, of course, also President Trump being indicted in Fulton County with an absolutely just...
that's been insane to watch what Fani Willis has been doing down there, to not care about law, to put on a show. And I think that's what we've seen so much with so many of the Democratic actors that have been going on, is that they think they're in their own version of House of Cards. They think they're Martin Sheen in the West Wing. They want to be a star. And unfortunately, when you become a district attorney, it's usually better if the public doesn't know your name.
That's very true.
When they do know your name, it usually means you're doing something wrong.
That's very true. But a lot of they're not stupid people, right? So they know that everything that they say and do against President Trump will end up on your mainstream media, fake news media, propaganda force, right? Even your Fox News. And so they're trying to disenfranchise the voter. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is to have the conversations, real life conversations, because they're not getting the truth or the entire story from what they have been conditioned to watch, CNN and whatever. They are not getting that information. My dad calls me every day because I've tried for so long. I'm like, Dad, turn off Fox News, right?
Yep.
So he'll call me when he sees something. He's like, all right, break this down. I'm like, just turn it off. That's all you
Well,
need to do is just turn it off.
well, you got to get your dad on Rumble watching LFA TV, the best news program
I
anywhere.
I do. I absolutely do. Yes.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
No,
But
let them fly. But you're right about as far as Twitter Spaces as an untapped resources
Yeah.
for news and
I
information.
mean, what we've been able to do in a lot of these Twitter Spaces is really get Congress people or influencers, people on the campaigns in there giving us their first hand take on whether it was the Speaker McCarthy vote, whether it was the Jim Jordan vote, the Mike Johnson vote. Yesterday, the Colorado GOP chairman was talking to average people about what he was going to do, and it really breaks down that filter between the 8-minute long segment on whatever cable news program it is. And the people. I mean, he went into extensive detail, and that's why that's a big reason why I wanted to have you on, because I know you do so much in the Twitterverse, in the Twitter Spaces about
it's like the Wild West out there, ain't it?
It is. It's wild. It's you know what, but it's like any other new technology. You know, right? We're all feeling it out right now. We're trying to work out what's best and who's real and who's not, and who's doing this for this, or whatever the hell it is. And for me, it seems that, I mean, just in seeing the way people talk about George Santos in Twitter Spaces when they actually get to hear his side of the story about things, to the way you hear on television or in the press. And I think that so much of that is really breaking down the barriers.
It really is. And George is a friend of mine. I adore that man. And the neat thing about Twitter Spaces, for instance, during Mike Johnson, the speaker race with Mike Johnson,
you
had basically all of Gates 8, Thomas Massey, Lou Dobbs came in, and they are giving real time information when the House took their took breaks.
Yeah.
You had Matt Gaetz, you had Santos, you had Anna Paulina Luna, Corey Mills, again, Thomas Massey. All of them came into our spaces to tell us, all right, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're doing, but also taking questions. And basically, we were giving our demands. We want the J6 tapes. We want the release of our J6 prisoners in the gulags. And we will not let that go. And sure enough, we got, verbal confirmation from these congressmen, these congresswomen. Yes, we will pass it up we will make this agreed upon. And sure enough, it was. And then within the first week of Speaker Johnson being in his role, we've gotten 12, I don't know how many.
A lot.
A lot of hours of J6 footage.
I think they said that it's going to be like 3 different tranches, and the first one got released. And look, and in fairness, people are getting a bit antsy for the next batch. But it's so interesting you say that, because when Congresswoman Boebert came in to the space, she brought up Mike Johnson, and that was the first time I had ever even heard of this guy.
Yeah,
and now he's third in line for the presidency, and I think I think it's incredible what people have been able to do with this sort of technology. Once again, we're with Tiffany Savage, the Real Politically Savvy, on Twitter. So happy you joined us. We started out by talking about Georgia, and I know that there is a different feel. I've been all over the country, in cities all over the country. There is a different feel in southern cities than there are in northern cities. New York and Atlanta are very different places. And when I went to Atlanta, in addition to it being the single hottest place I've ever been to in my entire life, it was about 2,000 degrees. But I got a different feeling down there. So do you think that there is a chance that we can make more inroads in some of these southern cities that maybe Republicans have ignored for any number of years now?
Yes. So I have a passion for the Gen Z, which, the Democrat Party does seem to really push out their Gen Z influencers, right? So during football season, I would be up in Athens talking to Gen Zers, getting and wearing my MAGA hat, right? Because that is the first thing people will notice. Never once. I went to Nashville with the MAGA hat, talked to kids. Not a single, oh my goodness, the excitement that a lot of these kids get to cast their first vote for President Trump. It was incredible. And then I do work with former felons who were incarcerated in DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Fulton County. And now it's not very easy for me to go into the SWAT, being blonde hair, blue-eyed. Yeah, no one's going to take me seriously. However, I have been able to meet several people in the middle, like I said, former felons. And since Fulton County, when President Trump was indicted, the excitement and the love that people in those areas, and I don't use identity politics, right? So, but they're just Americans in those areas have for President Trump. And there is quite a shift, because if you look in our more underprivileged neighborhoods, they are starting to recognize and see what the Democrat Party has done. They want them in the system. They want to take away their voting rights. And once they're in the system, that's it. Yeah. And it's generational. And the areas where these prisons are, where where these people live, it's deplorable condition.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And we've long said that, I've gone into the inner cities before, and I've talked to people, and I've said, look, this neighborhood's been voting Democrat for 100 years. What has it gotten you? What has it got? Give us a try. Give our way a try, because whether it's intergenerational poverty or crime or gangs or failing schools. I mean, New York spends more money than any other school district in the country, and we have some of the worst results. And education is really the way to get yourself out of poverty. And I'm trying to get more people to go into the cities, to go into bad neighborhoods, crime-filled neighborhoods, and just go, look, give this a shot. I love that you said you went to Athens up to the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. Yeah. Well, I guess I got to pull for the Dogs now after Alabama was able to get in somehow, but that's another show for another day. But no,
to your point about those neighborhoods, Kevin, it's voter education. Signing people up or registering people to vote is very important. But it's also voter education, but not educating them just on what day election day is, November 5th, 2024, because a lot of them don't know that, but it's actually the Conservative Party platform.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go into major detail, but get, a Cliff's Notes version, but also remembering when you're in a neighborhood that's not your own, that there may be different causes or different circumstances that are important to that community that wouldn't necessarily be important to someone in my community, or different level of importance.
100%.
And to be able to know that and be able to be like, all right, well, let me tell you what was done during President Trump's first administration. And then, using that conversation to move into Agenda 47.
Yeah.
And say, this is what he has planned for the next administration. But and not being divisive. That's another thing.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to reach anyone like that.
I say it. I say it all. No, I was going to say, I say it all the time. Just go talk. Don't argue. Just go in there and bullshit with people. Talk to them about regular stuff. And then they'll see, because so many people are brainwashed to the fact that we are like cancer and like, oh, there's a Republican, watch out. And it's like, no, look, we're all the same. We all want the same things.
Yes.
And I think for too long, Republicans have ignored so many places, particularly in the South, because they've either taken advantage of the fact that the state is going to go one way, which we're seeing, fluctuations in places like Georgia. But I think that for too long, Republicans haven't built out infrastructures in cities in the South, and it needs to happen.
Well, within the GOP, and I'm speaking for the state of Georgia, it's really quite sad. In districts that don't go at least 10% to a candidate, they will not campaign. Like, for instance, in the last election, if, say, Fulton County didn't go 10% to President Trump, they won't campaign there. And they won't clean up voter rolls.
Yep.
Well, that's a problem, because, I mean, we already, as far as Georgia's concerned, have a really messed up elections anyway. And with our election laws currently, the least that the GOP could do is know where they need to focus. And it's those counties that have been propagandized to and pandered to by the left, but completely forgotten about by the right.
Absolutely. And I was telling you the other day, I plan on coming down to Georgia for one, for a NASCAR event, but two, I would love to go, down in Atlanta, in the heart of Atlanta, and I want to talk to the people because I love it. And I think if you and me went down into Atlanta, first off, we would get some great video content. It would be hilarious.
Absolutely.
But second off, I think we could really do some do some damage because if we're able to pull 5% of every city over to our side, that's the whole ball game. Yep. That's game over. If here in New York, if we got 5% more of Manhattan or 5% more of the Bronx, Lee Zeldin is governor. And I'm probably not doing the show right now. I'm probably living in Albany, but that's another story. But don't worry, Lee. I'm just kidding. If you're watching. Just kidding. No, but it's for too long. And I think that's why I like to highlight grassroots people like you on this show, because we're willing to go to the places that traditional Republicans have ignored. Places where people I'm just looking up the Georgia delegation right now. It is unbelievable, the margins in some of the cities. You got Hank Johnson that won by 27. Nikema Williams won by 32. There's one more. David Scott won by 28. And that the David Scott district is right outside of where they have NASCAR, which I'll be going to. My first NASCAR event. Have you never been to NASCAR? No, we don't do that up here.
What?
We have enough traffic on all of our roads that we don't need to go watch cars. We can just drive.
No. Oh my God. It will change your life. Once you get to one, you want to go to them all.
Absolutely. Well, once we get down to Georgia, we'll be doing voter registration down there. Yes. We'll be hitting the neighborhoods, and I absolutely can't wait. Tiffany Savage, the real politically savvy, thank you so much for joining me. We will have a link to your Twitter and all your social medias in the comments and in the description of the video. Thank you so much for joining us. You got anything left for the people?
Of course, Kev. Trump 2024.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. All righty, guys. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in today. If you guys want to follow Tiffany, all of her links are in the description of this video, guys. I encourage everybody, look, if you're not on Twitter still, go back on. There's a lot of good information on there, a lot of fun stuff that I think you guys will really enjoy. I know I'm in all the spaces all the time. We can talk back and forth as much as you guys like. I love it. I love interacting with the people, as always. I'll throw my Twitter in here just in case nobody's following it. Guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Everybody, really, thank you all so much. I hope everybody has a phenomenal Christmas with their families, everybody. Make sure you guys stay tuned for Matter of Fact. Coming up next here on LFA TV. Guys, we'll be back next week. Enjoy your holiday with the family. And, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for being here. Stay loud. Bye.